What was the first time you were in front of a crowd?
I'm laughing because I have video evidence of the first time I was in front of a crowd, and it's not pretty. I don't look this beautiful as I do right now. I was like, had to have been like 14 or 15 or something.
Oh, wow, so you've been in it for a minute.
Yeah, I've been making music since I was like, I think 13. The first time I got on stage was like 14 or 15, and it was a talent quest at it's like a talent show at like the middle school or whatever. And I did a cover of Fort Minor's Remember the Name.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
That
Guess what I won?
You won?
Yeah, I won second place.
Gotcha.
Okay. There was this chick with an acoustic guitar who won first place. But she didn't end up playing a sold out show at the Bowery Ballroom.
Yeah. So in your face, acoustic guitarist. And also at the time Fort Minor was absolutely crushing it. That was like right at the time.
Yeah, dude. Peak Fort Minor, like post Linkin Park era.
Were you at that age, were you listening to a lot of, at Linkin Park, Fort Minor, that whole like rock band group, Green Day, stuff like that? Or
I was. I was listening to them for a long time, and like I was in this phase where I was really looking for a cross section of like hip hop and rock, and like I'd already exhausted all of Rage Against the Machine, so I was really settling for whatever was left. And I know Fort Minor kind of dipped their toes in that water a little bit, and I know Mike Shinoda is obviously associated with Linkin Park. So I just like that intersectionality of these different cultures in hip hop, pretty much, because Mike is Japanese, right? Wow. So I always found that interesting as someone who was into hip hop, as an Indian person, to find other people of like various ethnic qualities to be in hip hop. I always found that interesting.
Yeah.
So I tried to seek it out, along with my love and respect for all the classics in hip hop and everything. I tried to seek it out and tried to, really absorb that whenever I could. So Fort Minor was like a big thing for me.
Yeah. And where was your middle school?
Beijing.
China. So you're singing Fort Minor, getting into music, hip hop and rock in Beijing, China. Like, how does that happen?
I don't know, dude. The CD stores in Beijing, they're like all bootleg. There's like no real like music store except for like maybe Blockbuster or like some of the big box stores that my dad didn't want to pay that to like get me music CDs and stuff. So we'd go to like the bootleg music store, and I'd be like, oh, I want to listen to Kanye West or whatever. And Kanye at the time had released, unbeknownst to my knowledge, like multiple mixtapes on the internet for free, but they were selling them as like bootleg CDs at the store. So I would like buy like the Freshman Adjustment 3 or whatever, like Kanye was on, like the old ass mixtapes, and like get all that shit. And like the, every rapper's like mixtape that was like back in the G Unit mixtapes, like Lloyd Bank mixtapes, and like 50 Cent mixtapes, stuff like that. And it was all because someone at school had showed me like, I think it was like Inda Club.
Wow. And
then I tried downloading a lot of like, the G Unit era hip hop onto my little USB stick MP3 player back in the day through LimeWire.
Yep.
But then I started unintentionally downloading copious amounts of porn onto the family computer. So we had to swap.
And methods. Did you get caught?
Huh?
Did you get caught?
No, but this one time my mom did find big boobies in the Google search history. Really? And I was like, yeah, that was like a fucking virus for sure.
Do you not have siblings to blame it on?
Huh?
Do you have siblings to blame it on?
No. My little sibling at the time was like maybe like 7 or some shit.
Gotcha. Not into big boobies yet, but like
no, not into big boobies.
There.
Yeah, not.
So you're like truly a third culture person then, right?
Yes.
Because you're from Beijing, but you've said multiple times that you've moved every 3 to 4 years of your life.
Yeah. So I honestly wouldn't even classify myself to be from anywhere. I was born in Chennai. I do have an Indian passport legally. I am an Indian. Yeah, I still have an Indian passport. But I did spend most of my life in Beijing and Hong Kong. So I like to associate with that. That makes me feel comfortable. Like Chinatown in American cities makes me feel comfortable. Wow. because I feel really comfortable around Asian people, brown, East Asian, all of that. Feel comfortable around it.
And so how does a kid from Chennai end up in Beijing and Hong Kong?
My dad works for the IFS, the Indian Foreign Service. So he's works for the Indian Embassy, pretty much.
And so now you're in Beijing, you're getting into hip hop because of Indie Club.
Yeah, Indie Club, I think, was like one of the ones that like piqued my curiosity, yeah.
And so from that point, is that when you started to create music or make music or just do covers?
No, it was like a year before I started to even think about doing that. But I had one of those, I don't know if you were, how old are you now?
23.
23. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you would remember. There was, so MacBook Pros, what they have in the MacBooks now.
Yep.
Before there were MacBooks, there was this thing called iBooks. And that was like the original Apple laptop. Well, it was a second generation Apple laptop. And it was all white. Like now they're all silver. It was all white, and it was a lot thicker. And at our school, we would have to use them for computer class, so I could rent them out from the computer lab. So I used to rent out the iBook G4 to go do homework at home, and it had GarageBand pre-installed on it. So I'd just like go like Google and download like 50 Cent acapellas and like try to put beats behind it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started off making the beats first.
Yeah, and like playing, and like we had like a guitar at home. I honestly forget why we had that.
So